friend. I was working at a company at the time that had gone through the tech bubble. So I went through the boom and the bust. When we hit the bust, my husband, who I've been married to for 22 years, we decided we were going to take some time off. We put stuff in storage, and we actually backpacked around the world for 3 years. And in that time, and it was actually at the base camp of Annapurna, which is the 10th highest mountain in the world, but I swear it wasn't because I was oxygen deprived. I had an epiphany, and I was like, this is not what I want to do with my life. I think a lot of lawyering is just moving papers around or hurting people. I do think there's a role in terms of corporate or deal making where there's a good thing you can be doing in terms of free market economics and that kind of stuff. But I just decided it wasn't my cup of tea. So when we got back to the States, we lived in New York for 5 years, and I actually went back to college. I paid out of pocket, no student loan debt, and I did my Master in Fine Arts in Creative Writing. So if you ask me first which hat, I would love to say I'm a writer first, recovering lawyer, and a non-career politician. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. I'll win if you guys vote for me.
Carla is in an uncontested primary, but go ahead and vote for her next Tuesday anyway. You know, it's always nice to see the numbers run up, and it scares the Democrats a little, which is always a thrill. So, our next person is also a candidate for the county commissioner seat that was vacated by Carol Holden. His name is Lynn Menino. He is currently the security director of the Lottery Commission, which means that he's in charge of making sure that fraud doesn't happen at the 1,200 outlets that the lottery has throughout the state. That should be a concern to people because the profits from the lottery end up going to education. He's currently a member of the Milford School Board and was previously elected to both the school board and the Milford Board of Selectmen. He's a former call firefighter and police officer. Please welcome Lynn Menino.
Thank you. How's everyone this afternoon? It's a great event. Jim, don't worry, I'm not going to sing. Your voice was much better than mine, so
You don't know until you try.
Oh, I've tried. Trust me. So my name's Len Menino. I live in Milford, New Hampshire. I'm a native. I'm 47 years old. My wife Kimberly's here. We just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary in May. We have, thank you. 24, right?
Yes.
We have 4 beautiful daughters, just like their mom. 2 are out of school, 2 are in public school. And I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. In the 70s, I watched Jimmy Carter's liberal policies demoralize our country, and I watched my parents struggle to make ends meet. And then in the 80s, I watched my personal hero, President Reagan, lift up our nation. And then after high school, I went to work, and eventually I got my associate degree in criminal justice and law enforcement, and tried real hard and became a police officer in my hometown. And I worked my way up through the ranks, became detective, and then I was recruited by the Department of Justice for New Hampshire, the Attorney General's office, and I was assigned to their Metro team, their drug task force. And I worked in a unique position all over the state, the greater New Hampshire area, and what our role was to target drug trafficking organizations, and they are here, and they were here, and they're still going to be here. Infiltrate them, dismantle them, and bring the operators to justice. And we did that. And you may remember during the late 80s and 90s in Manchester in particular was the crack cocaine wars. We targeted that organization. It was an operation called Street Sweeper. It was very successful, but it was controversial because law enforcement was very aggressive, but it needed to be to rout the city of that poison. And it worked. So after law enforcement, I got employed with the state of New Hampshire. As Emily said, I'm the Director of Security for the Lottery Commission. It's a great job, and that's why I've remained neutral. You know, as a member of the school board, I always like to get behind a candidate for governor, but hopefully, if we all work hard, one of those people will be my new boss, so that's why I'm remaining neutral on that. But trust me, they have their work cut out for them. There's a lot of waste in state government. It's always good to bring a fresh perspective in and to see what improvements can be made. I'm a former selectman. One of those years was vice chairman, and then one of my greatest moments on the Milford Board of Selectmen was when our local paper tied one of my votes, and our local paper is the Cabinet. A good paper, good community paper. They cover area towns around Milford. But sometimes the editorial sort of leans left. Somehow, one of my votes was tied to the Reagan administration, and I've never been happier. I mean, that was a good moment for me, because I knew I was doing good things. And then I got into the school board, and I'm in my 5th term, so 10 years now, serving the school board. And the reason I'm running for this position is because I've taken an interest in what's happening in county government. And I've been out across the district because, as Bob said, it's big. It's 24 towns. And I've been meeting with voters. I've been meeting with select boards. And it's funny because they've been really appreciative that a candidate for county has come out to see them, because it sounds like maybe that hasn't happened in the past. Except for Senator Andy Sanborn, they did say that they saw him constantly. And I said that figures, because he's everywhere. And so one of the things I would do, really running on 3 core issues for county, where I think improvements can likely be made. The first one is transparency. And it's the little things. It's the posting of minutes in a timely manner. You know, if we're transparent in little things, we'll be transparent in the more important things. For example, there was a period of time where minutes weren't being posted. And then when I called and said, where are the minutes? They said, well, our resources are tight. We just don't have the ability to get them up there in a timely manner. But they made progress, and that's good. Now, I know it's not a reflection on the people that work there. They work hard. People in county, local, and state government do work hard. But sometimes it's a matter of resources. Sometimes it's a matter of priorities. So that's something that we would look at. The second thing I would say is there needs to be greater accountability in county government, specifically the Department of Corrections. Now, I know this is unpopular for some of you, but it's not a reflection. It's not a criticism. It's really an opportunity. It's really bringing in a fresh perspective to see if we can do something different. See if we can make improvements where we need to make them. Recently, I was interviewed by that hometown reporter, and her question was, if you're elected, Len, what will you do about the medical issues and all the complaints coming out of Valley Street Jail? So what I've been saying is I would support accreditation. Now, in law enforcement and criminal justice, accreditation works. It sets a standard that are recognized at a national level. It will help diminish the reoccurring litigation. It will help to attract and retain, qualified staff instead of the revolving door that's there now, both there in the nursing home, by the way. But more so at the corrections department. You know, if you sort of follow what's going on, about every few pages of the minutes that are posted in a timely manner are transfer after transfer after transfer to cover line items that probably weren't sufficiently funded. Or we can take a look at doing it a little bit differently. And then the third thing I would look at is taking a look at our cash reserves. At one point, and it wasn't long ago, it was just a few years ago, it was about $21 million in cash reserves. Now, I'm not a proponent of building up a large war chest of taxpayers' money, because sometimes that means we're taxing them too much, and we ought to be looking at keeping taxes as minimal as we can. We're not in the business of making a profit. We're in the business of customer service, and we don't want to overtax. But more recently, the surplus is down to $3 million. And why is it a problem? Well, the county did a good job because over the years they've used some of it to stabilize the tax rate, and that's a good thing. That's a good use of taxpayers' money. But it doesn't always have to be during the better economic times. So I think maybe there's some room there to look at it a little more strategically. Again, fresh perspective. And if we can do that, then we'll be good stewards of the people's money. And that will serve us well. It'll keep taxes where they need to be. Because otherwise, there's going to be a ripple effect. Eventually, there won't be surplus to draw from if we keep putting it towards the tax rate during good economic times when there's actually tax revenue that can come in. And recent example, the program that Bob spoke of, SATCO, I think it's a substance abuse treatment community of offenders. Now, that's a good program, and it works with misdemeanor level offenses, because those are the offenses that you find in county corrections, right? Felonies go up to state prison. That's still the case, Dennis? I have that right, thanks. So, because there wasn't a whole lot of money available, now they could have drawn from it, but they didn't. But people are starting to get nervous about that surplus in the budget. And so, right out of the gate, that program was underfunded. The superintendent, Mr. Dion, said in the paper that it was going to hurt the program. It wouldn't be fully operational. He'd have to make some tough decisions to get some good results. So, again, fresh perspective, transparency, fiscal conservative, and accountability. That's the resume, and I would be happy to try to answer some of your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for taking my question. I appreciate you giving us a little bit about your background. A lot of us didn't know much about you, but I thank you for that. My question is concerning SATCO. The funding that was requested for SATCO from the county commissioner was in fact funds to hire new employees. And when I spoke with the jail superintendent, I asked him whether or not he had looked into outsourcing it and bringing in outside contractors to provide the services, and what savings that would cost the county, if there would be any savings. And in fact, there would have been over $70,000 in savings had they outsourced it to bring in independent contractors. So the request at the meeting to have the budget reduced by $70,000 was only because of information he had received from the jail superintendent. I did not see that he said it was underfunded. It was because of his response that we could have reduced it by $70,000 to bring in outside contractors. Were you aware of that?
The superintendent told the union leader, I think it was around May 14th or so, that the $70,000 reduction in the budget would prevent him from fully funding, making the program fully operational with the staff that he needed to have the full results. That's what he said.
Follow up with this, please?
Sure.
Did you understand we were talking about employees versus subcontractors when you read that?
Right. Whether it's employees or subcontractors, those positions still have to be filled because it's a program that happens every day for I think 60 days. Every day, full day. Heavy duty drug intervention. It needs to work. And the money's there, but we just have to do it a little bit better. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for welcoming myself here and my wife. It's a pleasure to talk before you, and I hope to meet every one of you. And thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Well, I was thinking a little barbecue. It's kind of a bad habit, you know. Anyway, we have a speaker coming up now, Alderman Joseph Kelly Lavofser from Manchester. He served on the Manchester Board of Aldermen since 2011. He's also an attorney and a restaurant owner. He owns Theo's in Manchester, over on Elm Street, if you've ever been to it. And I'd like you all to please welcome Joseph Kelly Lavofser.
I want to thank everybody for showing up today. Emily, for putting on a great party. This is the first time I've been to this facility, and it's really, really wonderful. I see a lot of good people in this room that I know personally, Mr. Hogan, Mr. Rowe, Mr. Heichel, lots of good people. I was the lucky guy that got to run against D'Alessandro 3 times because nobody would run against him. But the one great thing that came out of that was I got to meet a lot of great people in Goffstown, and Goffstown gave me 3 victories. And I'm the only Republican that has run in the last 12 or 15 years who has beaten D'Alessandro, and I'm hoping that this time around Goffstown will be good to me. I have a primary, and I'm running for executive council because I think for the first time in 14 years, we're going to have a Republican governor. So I would like to say we should have a moment of silence for Hillary Clinton today. I guess her allergic reactions to being with Trump today she faded today. So let's pray for her today. I don't know if you all heard about it, but she had a very serious medical issue today. And I'm feeling very good about the possibility of having a Republican president. And I've been hoping that this party will unite behind Donald Trump, unite behind the Republican Party, and get ourselves a Republican governor and hopefully a Republican executive council. A little bit about me, born and raised in Manchester. I'm 55 years old. I started my own restaurant when I was 25 years of age. 50% of all restaurants fail within 1 year, 90% fail within 5. I've lasted 30 years, and that says a lot about me personally. I work very, very hard. I care about my customers. I care about what they're eating and their food, their service, and all of the intricacies. But what I do know is how much everything costs, how bad our electric bills are. I pay $2,500 a month for an electric bill, $2,500 a month for a gas bill, and we don't have a very big place. There's a lot of expenses that go with being a restaurant owner, a business owner, a homeowner, bringing your kids up in this state, putting them through school. The Executive Council is responsible for every contract above $5,000. They're responsible for putting the most important positions in the courts, our judges, and all the department heads. Obviously, the department heads are responsible for bringing in budgets. So when I select somebody, I will select somebody that has been proven to be fiscally conservative. As an alderman for the city of Manchester, I am the alderman at large, which is all 12 wards. I've won 3 terms in a very democratic city. As a Republican 3 times, I'm the only one that's ever won 3 straight races as a Republican. I have a TV show I've been doing for 16 years. It's a live call-in show. I bring Republicans on my show, and once in a while we let a Democrat come in so that people will see what they're like, and then they go, wow, those Republicans are pretty cool. I let them talk and talk and talk, and they go on and on and on. It's great. We never have enough money for anything, so, and you know, they want your money, of course. I've been supporting Republicans since I was elected my first time as an alderman in 1999, and I was a city Republican chairman, and I fought very hard to get people elected. I've supported the Republicans in this town, and I always will. I support Republicans all over the state, and if I'm not fortunate enough to win the primary, I will support my opponent to beat the most liberal executive council, Chris Pappas. I don't know if you know who he is or you know anything about his record, but he's really, when I say he's left of Obama, he's the left of Obama. So there's not anything he won't vote for, and I'm sure you've heard a few of the gory details about some of the votes that have been up there. I am not a big believer in Planned Parenthood getting taxpayer-funded money, our money, for, I don't believe they should be taking our money. I think that if they want to raise money, they should be able to take all the tax money that they get, and then they should be able to raise their own money and do their things that they want to. In Manchester, we have 4 health facilities, and we do provide funding for them, but they're not political. They don't come after you. There are a lot of Republican pro-choice women, but they don't differentiate between pro-choice and pro-life. They differentiate between Republican and Democrat. They're extremely political, and I think that they should take their political nonsense somewhere else. So I will not be planning on supporting any contract that comes in through the state for Planned Parenthood, unless they convince me otherwise, and I don't think that'll ever happen, because I've seen their Twitter feed, and they don't have anything good to say about a Republican no matter what. We're not allowed to have opinions, folks. They're allowed to have whatever opinion they want, but whatever opinion we have, we're the crazy people. Well, we've seen this country get $20 trillion in debt. So who's the crazy people? You know what? If you look in the paper today, you read the Sunday paper, the Manchester Alderman just approved a 16.7% increase in the policeman's contract, 3-year contract. 16.7% increase. Who voted against it? Me. Why? Because CPI is going to grow at 3%, 1% per year. That's a 3% increase. how am I as a taxpayer, or any taxpayer, is going to afford a 16.7% increase in salaries for the police department? Teacher's contract was an 18.5% increase. I voted against it. Still able to win because good Republicans, conservative Democrats know that I'm in there for the right reason, and that's to hold the line on spending. And that's what I'll do as an executive counselor. I will read every single contract. I'm an attorney. I like reading contracts. It's a weird thing, but I like reading them. And I like to find the little games they played and the little games they play, and then I like to bring those out. But I can guarantee you, we have two very good Republican executive counselors that are up there now. If you get me in there, you're going to have a very strong executive council, which should really help this state, and of course help our Republican governor. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get a Republican governor this time. As far as anything personal, if anybody has any questions, I grew up in the projects, single mom. I went to Bakersfield School, public schools. I worked my way through college. I got my bachelor's degree when I was 31. I got my master's degree at 36. I went to law school at night. I got my law degree at 40, and I've been practicing law. I got dragged into politics, and once you get bit by that mosquito, it's very, very hard to get it out of your system because you see what it's like inside, and you see how bad it is, and you see how important it is to have people like John Burt, who's not afraid to say no. And it's a hard word, but the reason why we are in such debt is because everyone wants to be nice and give things away, and they just don't care. They don't see the amount of debt. Look at our roads, look at our bridges, look at our infrastructure. So that's the reason why I'm with Donald Trump, because I really believe he's going to make America first. He's going to make America great by taking care of our country first, and that's what we need to do. So if you have any questions, I'm here. I'm the easiest guy to find, by the way. I own a restaurant, Theo's, down in Manchester. You open the door, I'm there. My website, joekelly2016.com. My email is jrwa2@aol.com. My phone number is 622-7575. And I'll probably be at your house knocking on your door anyway, on my red moped, driving up and down your streets, filling your boxes and asking for sign locations. I work hard because I like it. I want to be at the executive council because I want to be it, because I want to see what the hell they're doing with our money. I want to be your watchdog. I want to be your eyes, and I want to be able to come back to you and tell you if they're doing a good job or not doing a good job. So, any questions? I'm more than happy to take one. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you tell me what the major differences between you and your opponent are?
The one that's running right now, the reason why, listen, Mr. Adams is a really nice person, and I will not say anything bad about him at all. I just think I have a better chance of winning. The reason why is because Chris Pappas owns the backroom restaurant. I don't own the backroom, I own the small restaurant. It's going to be a Davy v. Goliath game, I understand that. But in Manchester, Ray Resort lost every time he ran for executive council in Manchester. He lose by about 2,000 votes, but he would win by 10. All right, I think I can lose Manchester by a couple thousand votes, maybe less than 5,000, and pick it up because I'm very well known in the city. I've won 3 citywide elections. I've run in Goffstown. By the way, I know I'm the Register of Probate. I've been on the ballot 4 times in Bedford and Goffstown and all around. I'm well known. I'm probably in the paper every 3 weeks for some reason or another because they just love to. I'm a very controversial guy because I'm not afraid to get in the mix with people and go after things, and I'm not intimidated by government or anybody. So as much as I like him, if he wins, I'll back him. But I think I can win because my TV show goes to Candier, it goes to Hooksett, it goes to Auburn. And I've been in Bedford, I've been around, I've been a business owner in Manchester, and I'm not afraid to ride my moped to anybody's house anywhere and do the work that's necessary to win. So it's all about me beating Chris Pappas, not about Mr. Adams, even though I know I have to get through that Tuesday. But Mr. Pappas is my target, and boy, do I want to beat him in the worst way. I can guarantee you that. So as far as Jim Adams goes, I have nothing bad to say about him, and if he wins, I'll have him on my show, I'll give him a donation, and I'll throw a party for him. But I hope it's a party for me instead. Anybody else? Anybody else? Come on. Where did I get these jeans? Marshalls. On sale, $6. Shoes, $3. I don't buy anything unless it's on a rack and it says clearance on it. And that is true. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for running. When I go to Concord, I'm not up there to receive Christmas cards from anybody. Are you the same way?
I don't think I've ever gotten a Christmas card from anybody from government. Ever. 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 Mr. Hogan. This guy's been on my show a couple of
I
times
sent
right
you a
here.
Christmas
You send me,
card.
he sends me. Well, you're not. You're an elected official. That's different.
Oh, all right.
So you can be fired. We've never seen anybody who's a department ever been fired. In Manchester, you see what Manchester goes through and what it's like? I've always said this. How come nobody ever gets fired? I mean, everything's falling apart. The schools aren't doing good. This is falling apart. Why doesn't anybody ever get fired? They never get fired, folks. I would fire myself, but that's for another day. If I ever win the mayor's race at some point. But I want to be executive president. I'm not afraid to fire people, folks. Well, I'm not afraid to call people on the clock, I can promise you that. Listen, I've been doing a TV show for 16 years. I have a live call-in show. So people ask me all kinds of questions. And this finger, I am the Wyatt Earp of turning off that button, I can tell you. You've got to be quick on the trigger because people can come out with some pretty strange things on there. So, and Dennis has been on the show, and it's fun, right?
Yes.
And people call, and you keep winning. So I take credit for that. I take credit for that. Anybody else, sir?
What station are you on?
I'm on channel 23, Manchester Public Television. You can get it on, if you watch it live, you can watch it live on the internet on your show. I was on John Burt's show, and I don't know if everybody ever watches because nobody said, I saw you on John Burt's show. Anybody?
You'll be on tonight at 8 o'clock.
I'm on tonight at 8 o'clock, and you will be able to watch 1 hour, and I didn't let him talk at all. Right? I gave you, what, 4 minutes? I thought I was my show again.
That's what my neighbor told me.
Yes, that's a camera. I'm not letting that thing go. Well, then go this microphone. Come on, more questions. Let's go. I'm just kidding. And Emily, by the way, you're great. Hard-working woman right here. I don't know if you're running for something, but she put herself on the ballot in the most Democrat ward in the city, I don't know how many times, and tried like crazy and fought like crazy and helped. And so I'm very glad she's over here in the great town of Goffstown. So you have a lot of great state reps here. So, and what's great about being a Republican is when I go to other towns, I feel warm and welcome. And I visit everybody with a Trump sign. It's like walking through the desert, seeing a glass of water, and I'm going through that mist and that haze of signs, and there's a Hillary and there's a Trump, and I always knock on the door and say, I'm with Trump too, and we have a 1 hour conversation, and it's like, yeah. So, thank you all very much. Joseph Calabasser, Executive Council, I'd appreciate your vote, and I promise you that I will make you happy if I do get that job. And you can always call me, you can always email, you can always ask me questions anytime. I always respond. So, thank you. Thank you, Emily.
Well, that was entertaining. I'm quite happy about that. We've got 2 more things to announce. One is that we have leftovers, so if anybody feels inspired to go get something, a little something to either eat or take home, help yourself. The other announcement is that since we didn't have kids show up to beat up Hillary, we're going to auction Hillary off. And Hillary is loaded with sugar, which is the first time that you'll get anything sweet out of Hillary. And what we're going to do is we're going to auction off Hillary. So I'd like, can you bring Hillary up to the front so everybody can take a good look at her? This Hillary is dressed in black and white prison striped jumpsuit. Yes, she was just over there. And since we didn't have any kids to beat up on her, you can take her home and do it in the privacy of your own home.
How many emails?
Okay, this is Hillary. She said, it's got a dollar sign. It says Lying Crooked Hillary. Okay, there's money in her other hand. And you can see that she obviously has the Pinocchio effect.
Where did you get that? Seriously?
We found this on Amazon.com. Okay? And when we saw it, we knew we had to get it. So, I mean, it was that bad.
What was the last one?
I'm going to start the bidding at $20. Do I hear $20? Okay, 20. 22. There's a 22. 24. Okay, 24 from the guy in the blue shirt there that says Granite Grok, which is broadcasting this live. And they're great to listen to. You should listen to Granite Grok. They're live every Saturday morning, and they have podcasts. So you should hunt granitegrok.com down. They're also a news service. They have incredible levels of news that come across continually. It is much better than WMUR or the Union Leader or the Communist Monitor, which is that thing up in the state capitol. That newspaper up in the state capitol. Okay. Do I hear 26? There's a 26, 28, 28, 30. No 30? Oh, there's a 30. Okay, 32. There are 32. 34. Okay, 36. Anybody want to bid 36 on it? Remember, this is loaded with sugar. You're going to get a sugar high out of it. Okay, I personally put about 8 or 9 pounds of sugar into this Hillary.
Okay.
And remember that the thing you usually get out of a Hillary doesn't have anything to do with sweetness. Okay? So 38. Anybody? There's a 38. 40. Anybody want to bid 40? It's a good deal. Lots of sugar. Okay, 40. 42. There's a 42. 44. Anybody want to bid 44 for a sugar-loaded Hillary? 44. Okay, 46. 46. 48. Anybody feel like a 48? There's 48. You can shoot it instead of like whacking it, although, you know, the thrill of whacking Hillary has got to be a really visceral thrill. I mean, it really does. I mean, I'm just tempted to whack Hillary. In fact, if you really want, I've got a 1-inch dowel here, or a 4-foot-long 1-inch dowel, and it could be so incredibly satisfying to whack Hillary that I'll throw in my dowel. So, you know, if you really want to have it. Okay. Do I have 50? Anybody's got, there's a 50? 52? 52? 54? There's 54. 56? Anybody with 56? Not going to bid of it. I don't. Is he part of the house? He says he's not part of the house. I don't have a shill, but I should have arranged one. But I'm not that smart, so. Okay, I think the gentleman has won the Hillary. Hillary is pretty heavy. You know, if you've got kids, they're going to have a wild sugar high. And if you've got kids, feed your kids the sugar, then send them over to their grandparents. Okay? So you're the winner. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I want to remind everybody, this is September 11th, which is a kind of a sad day in the history of this country. And we want to remember that we really want to preserve our lives in this country. We want to preserve our freedom, and we want to preserve all the values that the founders saw as being important to us here. And this is a day that should really remind us of that. So thanks everybody for coming, and I really appreciate, you know, all the input from everybody here. Granite Rock guy wants to talk.
Hi. Hi, Emily. I'm Mike. I'm also representing the 603 Alliance, a conservative group here in the state.
Hold on, Mike.
We have Trevor Loudon coming to the state this week. He is an author, a speaker, and now a filmmaker. He has produced a thick book. All of us suspect that our government is riddled with communists and subversives. Well, he's detailed this in a book called The Enemies Within. He's also made a film. We're going to be showing it at the Crown Plaza on Friday night at 7 p.m. Only $10, and he'll be there to answer questions afterwards. So Crown Plaza, Nashua, the usual place for conservative gatherings, 7 p.m. Friday. I get that right, dear? Yep. Got to check with the boss. You can read more about it on the 603 Alliance website, 603alliance.org, and I believe that'll lead you off to ticket purchase. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Mike. And I really want to remind you all, check out Granite Grok, Granite Grok. That comes from Heinlein, Robert S. Heinlein, who was the person who said, an armed society is a polite society. I'm sure most of you appreciate that. Anyway, we will be doing this again next year, and hope to see you then. And remember, if you want to take some leftovers home, we've got plenty. The food is delicious, and I wouldn't blame you for doing it.
Good job. Thank you. Oh, I forgot about. Hey, does anybody want a beer card?
Very end.
Oh, you're talking.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you both. You got to drink them before you leave.